Hey YouTube, it's Cutt here and we're bringing you another one. And welcome to Tutorial Tuesdays, where I'm going to teach you about everything. I mean, let's go over everything. Before we get started, if you want early access to the tutorials, if you want free wallpapers, if you want digital packs monthly, I'm talking brushes, 3D models, all that type of stuff, you definitely want to check out my Patreon. I was looking over to myself. You definitely want to check out the Patreon because we're going to keep bringing all this good stuff. So if you want to be early, you go on ahead on over to the Patreon. Check out the link in the description below. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, push that notification button because we're going to keep bringing this stuff to you. So let's get started. So this video is called What's What. We're going to do a little Let's Talk, okay? And we're basically going over all the programs that I know, because you would be surprised how often in my DMs I get the question of what's Photoshop, or like what's Illustrator, like okay, where do I do 3D stuff? You know, some people just not only don't know how to use the tools, they don't even know what the tools are. They don't know what the tools are, so they are wondering through me what's what. And I'm like, you know what, I'll do a video of what's what. So I'm not going to talk every program. I'm going to talk about all the programs I know. Now I know a lot of programs, but I don't know all the programs in the universe, okay? And although I know programs that I never used before, we're only going to talk about the ones I've used, okay? But I thought a clever way to go do this is to go in order, of when I discovered them in my life till now, okay? So the first one we're going to start with is Microsoft Paint, something I learned and discovered, I think, 5th grade and on one of the computers, and I actually got pretty good at it. If you check right here or wherever I'm putting the art, you can see some of my old art. For those who don't know, Paint is a program on Microsoft that's built in. It's a very basic digital painting program, okay? I would not expect you to do anything on that, okay? But you can do some cool things. If you listen, a good artist can use anything. So if you're a good artist, you should be able to use any tool. And even though I was in elementary school, I had something cool. Okay, so after that came Gimp. So a friend of mine in high school or middle school, I think it was like, oh, you should use Gimp. Or whenever someone came to me, and I was like, Gimp. They're like, yeah, it's like a free Photoshop. And that's exactly what it is. It's like Photoshop. You can manipulate the photos, manipulate your images, but it is indeed free. It's not very detailed. There's not a lot going on, but hey, it gets the job done. So I even did some pieces where I would take my Paint program. Look, I was always transferring files, okay? I took my Paint projects and then I brought it into Gimp and enhanced them. Mind you, this is all trash, but here's a piece that I did. Now moving on to Adobe Photoshop. So actually my dad gave me Photoshop. This is before we paid monthly. This was on a disc. And my dad, he was the graphic designer at the Free Library of Philadelphia, and he had the disc for free, so he slid it on over to me. I'm sure he gave me the whole suite, but the only thing I really knew at that time was Photoshop. That was the only thing I used. For those who don't know, Photoshop is a tool where you can manipulate photos, you can edit photos, you can even draw there. A lot of people use it as their drawing tool. Still to this day, a lot of people use Photoshop as their drawing program, where you can literally ink, color, airbrush, all that stuff on Photoshop. You can manipulate everything there. And now there's a lot of AI things that's coming with Photoshop. We'll talk about that another day. So after that, maybe a few years later, I learned about Adobe Illustrator. I think this was like early in college. So was I doing anything else besides, I guess I was doing Photoshop for a really long time, but like early in college I learned about Illustrator. Not in college, but around that time. Adobe Illustrator is unlike Photoshop. Photoshop is a very pixelated based program. This is a vector based program, which means no matter how much you stretch, it's never going to be pixelated because it's based upon some type of math that I don't understand how it works. But that's what this program is. So this is a great program to make logos, to make designs that you want to be vectorized, you know, characters and things like that. There's so much you can use in this tool. We will do a 101 on all this stuff. Beginner stage, what do you need to know about all this? But we ain't doing that right now. Okay, I find myself in Illustrator way more than I find myself in Photoshop because you want clean vector lines. That's the place to go. So then Premiere I did learn in college because I went to school for animation, and because I went to school for animation, you have to know all the programs to animate, and you definitely need to know Premiere because Premiere is a video editing tool. Okay, this is where you take all the footage you recorded, you come in, you chop it up, you cut it up, you move it around, you color it, do whatever you want to do, and then you render it out. Okay, so this is where you can literally make the videos like the video you're watching right now. I use Premiere. Okay, then a little later, probably around the same time, I learned about After Effects. After Effects is an amazing program. Mind you, all these so far is Adobe. I ain't know nothing else but Adobe for a long time. But the industry uses Adobe, so you're in luck. So After Effects is a similar program to Premiere, except it's more geared to manipulating the files and layers, making special effects. You can, and there's a lot of animation going on there because you have keyframes where you can literally move digital things from here to here. So there's a lot of motion graphics going on. This is not the place you really want to be editing footage. This is not the place you really want to be dealing with music and sound effects and all that stuff. You don't really want to have to do that there. That's more something you would want to do in Premiere. So you would prepare certain assets and things like that in After Effects, and then you might want to bring it on over to Premiere. So you can animate. So I animate often inside of After Effects. That's the place you want to go to do that. Okay. Then I learned about Adobe Media Encoder. Adobe Media Encoder is a render farm built-in for Adobe. Basically, it's where you can render out your videos, your footage, whatever you're working on a queue. So if you're in Premiere and you use the one that's built into Premiere, once you push render, you really can't do anything else. You kind of just have to wait till you push till it's done. However, if you send it to Media Encoder, send it to the render farm, then you're able to still continue to work if you wanted to and let it render. Or if, let's say, you have a lot of footage you need to render overnight, you can push render in the render queue, go to sleep, and they will render out exactly where they need to go. So it's a very, very important program. Okay, so then I think my junior year of college, I learned about Adobe Flash. That's for the old heads. It's not called Flash no more. It's called Adobe Animate. But if you know, you know. You know what I mean? Adobe Animate is an animation program that you can literally do frame by frame drawings. And I think the files, the ink work is vector based from what I know. I'm not sure, but I'm almost certain. But anyway, you could do your frame by frame animations there. It's a very great program. Look at my trash senior project. I mean, for this time, you couldn't have told me nothing. Okay, you couldn't have told me nothing, but I did use Flash to do pretty much majority of this. Took it to After Effects to do some special things, and then took it to Premiere. So as you can see, Adobe Animates and I go way back. Okay, this I learned, actually I might have learned this before those two programs, but anyway, I learned Maya in college as well. Now, nobody uses Maya anymore. Okay, I'm sure there's people who do, but we're not one of those people. Maya is a 3D program where you can animate, you can build, you can sculpt, you can do all those things. I don't know if you can sculpt in Maya. But anyway, you could do 3D stuff. If you want to sculpt, you can go to ZBrush. That was the next one I learned. I learned them pretty close together. ZBrush is basically a digital clay manipulator. A digital clay manipulator. You can use clay, a digital clay, to sculpt faces, objects, whatever you want. Okay, that's a great place to put to do all that detailed stuff that you want to do, and then you can bring it into these other programs. ZBrush is quite an amazing program. And then you have Procreate. Let me tell you, I think there's maybe 2 programs besides Photoshop that probably changed my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but Procreate has actually changed my life. Period. Okay? Procreate, for those who don't, if you're under a rock, for those who don't know, Procreate is where I create most of my artwork. I'll say maybe like 99% of my artwork. Anyway, Procreate is a drawing app that's only available on the iPad. Sorry for you poor people. And it's only available on the iPad. It's a drawing tool where you can draw, sketch, ink, color, digital paint, digital illustrate, all of that inside of Procreate. Although you can do it in Photoshop, and many people do, I did, it's not, I feel like it's just not on the same level and accuracy as Procreate, especially because it's on the iPad. Also, you can animate on Procreate. It's not as, you don't get as much infinite layers as you do with Flash and Photoshop when you animate on Photoshop, but it still has a really great animation program, system, whatever. I don't know these terms, okay? I'm not the technical guy, all right? So then a little later on, years after college, a friend of mine from college shared with me an app called Nomad. Nomad is similar to ZBrush, where you can sculpt, manipulate actual clay or digital clay. It's not actual clay, digital clay, just like ZBrush. ZBrush, I think, is a better system, but the fact that you can use this on the iPad and it's very seamless, it was very affordable. Hey, it gets the job done. I've done it for projects and for clients, so hey, if it makes me money, it must be good enough. Now, this one is not necessarily a program, but I really wanted to bring it up because I think this can help a lot of people, because it's also helped me quite a bit. There's actually two. One is called PurRef. It's a reference board that you put on, that's on the computer. So you can literally put different images, color palettes, whatever you need to make reference boards or mood boards for your artwork. Do not hesitate to use reference for drawing. You know, I'm doing these drawing tutorials I'm preparing now, and I really want to stress the fact of using reference, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm an artist, I'm supposed to do it from my head. No, that's not even how any industry does. Use reference. And this is a great app, great program. Now, however, although it's good, the one I want to show you next, which is called VizRef, I think is way better. VizRef is actually for the iPad. It's very similar. The difference is, or I don't know if it's just for iPad, it might be for just tablets in general. VizRef is great because you're able to not only do all those things, but it has a flipping option that's a little bit easier. You can manipulate the image a little bit more. You can go to black and white, from what I remember. Also, I love the fact that you can use GIFs and you can pause the GIFs. Like, it's a really cool program that is way better than PurRef, but PurRef's for the desktop, and this one's for the tablet. Okay, I forgot one. So, character animate. That's a really, really, really big one, and I had it here and I did not say it. So I was like, we're just gonna do it real quick. It's really good. It's an amazing program. Okay, you take puppet type of characters and you can manipulate their arms and legs and their mouths. It even captures your face. Now it even captures your body. But I don't know nothing about that. But it's a really great program. I use it. You're gonna see him at the end. The character who pops up at the end. I was doing little shorts in the beginning of my YouTube channel, but it just was too much to be keeping it all up. So I just haven't really done it much. But it's a really great program. Okay, and then the thing that's capturing my voice as we speak, what's wrong with me? Is Adobe Audition. I discovered this a few years ago when I started my YouTube channel with Aztec Knight, and we started using it. It's really great. I don't know much about audio. I'm not the audio guy, but hey, it's picking up my voice very well. I know the little bit that I need to know to do what I need to do. Okay, so that's a little bit I know. If you really want to know, you go ask somebody else how to do it. So then once this is a good time to plug. Come on, somebody. So when I did my coloring book, available right now on jcut.com, or you can go to my Etsy shop and get the coloring book. I recommend the Etsy shop because there's a lot of other awesome stuff there as well. This is not available yet, but I am in the process of making my baby book. The reason why I bring it up is because I had to take photos of these objects that I'm showing you right now. And Robert, those who may know him, who was helping me edit my videos back in the Dizzy, he actually uses Lightroom to edit all his photos. He's an amazing photographer. Definitely check out. Definitely check out his car stuff, all right? I'm gonna actually show you some images right now because this stuff is just great. I mean, just come on. But he uses Lightroom to edit his photos. Now, I don't know much about Lightroom. I'm not a photographer, but I was able to go in there and just manipulate some of these images. And it's a great program to edit and batch edit your photos. Yes, Photoshop has similar things, but I did notice that Lightroom is a little bit more geared and focused on photos, which is ironic because Photoshop is called Photoshop. But anyway, whatever. But Lightroom works, okay? It works. So then you have Blender, which is the second one that changed my life. I knew I wanted to learn 3D, but I learned a little bit of Maya in college, and it was an introduction, but it didn't really teach me nothing. And somehow I stumbled upon Blender somehow. I don't remember, but I stumbled upon Blender, and I'm like, oh, this thing free? Not free. We love that. We love that word. That 4-letter word, free. Woo! And it's an amazing program. So Blender is a 3D program where you can build models. You can do sculpting. ZBrush is great, but the fact that Blender has sculpting in it, and hey, it's pretty good. I use that as well. You can do, weight painting and you can animate. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing program. And once I discovered it and took the time to learn it, I can't say I'm like an expert, but hey, I've gotten jobs doing Blender. So hey, I must be good enough to do what I gotta do. You know what I mean? So Blender, love that one quite a bit. So later on, after using Blender and the 3D programs and all these different things, I discovered Quixel Bridge. Quixel Bridge is a it's a platform. I'm like, what are the words? A platform that holds a bunch of 3D assets. These are not ordinary 3D assets. It's not just some cartoony thing. These are real photos, real models from photos of real objects that come in. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can. Basically, it's a real object. They take a bunch of photos. They're called mega scans. They scan the thing and they bring it into the 3D space. So this is a combination of actual real life objects that you can then use in the 3D world to build your models. Did I explain that well? No. Do I care? No. But the pictures are telling you what I'm telling you. So Quixel has Bridge, but they also have Quixel Mixer. Now, I don't know Mixer that much because when I first started learning it, it was a little confusing and I was like, what's going on here? But you could take textures and mix them together to make new textures. It seems like a really amazing program. I've only dabbled in it a little bit, but we're going to try again because maybe I'm a little bit more advanced now and maybe it'll be a little bit more clear, but definitely check that out because that's also quite amazing. Now, there's another bridge called Adobe Bridge. I have a little bit of experience in it. Basically, Adobe Bridge is just a file organizing system, a file structuring system, a batch editor. So if you want to label a bunch of files all at once, or you want to move them all at once, and it's just an easier way to do that. I personally don't do it often because I don't have that much files to have to move around, but I know organizations that do that because it's so much going on. So it's definitely a great program to use. So then we bring ourselves to the present day. And what I have now learned is Unreal Engine 5. Oh yes. Unreal Engine is named as it is named because it is indeed Unreal. It is a phenomenal program. It's a 3D program, not like Blender, similar in the sense that you can build things, but it's less about building things and more about creating the scenes, the world in real time with real lighting, with real physics, all that stuff already ready to go. phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Okay. I've been procrastinating for a long time learning it, and then I was kind of forced to learn it about a month ago. And I'm glad I was, because it's what I wanted deep down. And I've gotten to the point where I'm confident enough to make something. Can I call myself an expert? No. Can I call myself advanced? No. But I can't call myself a beginner no more, because Unreal Engine is phenomenal. I know I said this is the last program, but the last most recent thing that I have kind of discovered is called Kitbash. Kitbash is very similar to Quixel Bridge. However, Kitbash, which has mega stands, some of those things are real, some of those things are built like someone actually made them, so they don't really exist, because there's buildings and houses and all different type of things. They have trees, all different type of stuff. But they have a thing called Cargo, which is very new, and I love it. So basically, they took all their mega scan packs that they have, put it into one big bundle thing, where now you can pay a monthly fee and literally use whatever you want, which is better, because now what they did before was you had to pay per pack. It's like with Photoshop. It's what Adobe did. Adobe was like, we doing CDs, and now they're like, now you gotta pay us for the rest of your life. Okay, so that's everything. I'm sure I missed something that I know. I didn't realize how much I knew until I really started writing down all the programs that I knew, and I was like, wow, this is a lot. But that's everything, okay? So don't ask me no more what's what, because this video just told you, all right? We are going to do a 101 on all these things. I'm going to come back, watch this video back, make notes on all the things I want to really break down, and start really making tutorials based upon your needs. And please let me know in the comments below if there was anything that wasn't clear, because I'm sure it was a lot of it, so that I can explain it to you much better than this. If you have not already, don't forget to like, subscribe, push that notification button, because we're going to keep bringing this stuff to you. Woo, that was a lot. That was a lot. What are you doing? I know you're not about to leave. It's mad buttons down there. You ain't pushed on one of them. You better subscribe to my channel. See you soon.